Thank you so much, Annie, and thank you, Canyon Dems. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. You guys are such a great club and so amazing. Um, I used to, the South Orange County clubs were my home when I lived in Lake Forest, and there were, I think, 25 of us maybe at a packed meeting with Gary Kepcart, right, Gary? Out on the barbecue patio, hanging out, just trying to figure out what we could get going here. And now look where we're at. It's so exciting to see this club. And not just a club that gets together to talk about issues, but really has such a great action plan. And you guys are amazing. So, right, the most important thing that we're facing right now is the COVID-19 pandemic that has killed 150,000 people in the United States. It looks like it may hit as many as 300,000, and it has sickened millions. And the economic crisis that this has caused is uppermost, in our thoughts, in the work that we're doing, and the outreach that we're doing right now. And so, for the foreseeable future, the primary role of government, national, state, local, so city council up in Sacramento, has to be stopping the spread of the disease and providing treatment and support to those who have become ill. And the treatment and support and stopping the spread has to be done according to scientific protocols, right? In addition, we must help people and small businesses survive. The pandemic has had a devastating impact on our economy, and our help must include financial assistance to workers who've lost their jobs, families that need to stay in their homes. We are facing a potential tsunami of evictions. I get contacted by people on a daily basis in my many roles about their fear of losing their housing. And small businesses are struggling to keep their doors open and keep their people employed. And that has to be primary on all that we're doing. Now, when the pandemic subsides, the primary focus of government must then be on helping families recover their financial stability, helping students recover their lost educational opportunities, and making sure that small businesses, those that energize our community, recover their vibrancy. So that is overall what we need to do, right? Now, I have had as a priority, the housing crisis has always been top of my list. The work that I've done on the city council level has been to lobby for extensions of exemptions, homeowner exemptions, and trying to build more affordable housing, land trust housing. So we have to do this on steroids because we started with a housing crisis. Now we're going to be facing so many people who are in fear of evictions and who will be evicted, and pictures of families and their goods on the sidewalk are going to be hitting the headlines so soon. And in Sacramento, we have the ability to build more housing, and that has been a focus. Now, Dave talked a little bit about budgeting and priorities. So some of the practical things that I'm working on now that I hope to take to the next step when I'm up in the assembly is leveraging federal funds, so federal tax dollars and credits, so that we're using smaller amounts of state tax credits. And so there's new legislation that has been passed. So if you're using a percentage, say 10% state tax credits, you're going to be able to get 40% federal tax credits. And that is going to maximize federal dollars that are going to be put in place under the current legislation. And so not only are we building housing for people, but we're also building housing using prevailing wage jobs. So we're going to be creating jobs and really leaning on our federal dollars. And that's what's in place right now. I mean, we're hoping that we'll be working on adding additional supports from the state. And hopefully, if we can get Joe Biden elected with Kamala Harris, hopefully with additional federal support. So that's what I'm working on now, and tax credits, and before TCAC, which is the Taxing Credit Allocation Authority in California. At the same time that we're facing this pandemic and crushing economic realities, we cannot forget about climate change. We cannot drop the ball. We're out of time, right? And the district that I will be representing, the 68th, is bounded by wildland urban interface. And we have to address the never-ending fire season. One wildfire can put into the air carbon equal or greater than all of the work we've done in lowering emissions from cars. And so that is a critical piece that we have to tackle. It's specific to this district. Now, we've been looking at this in areas like the Paradise Fire in Northern California, and I was up in Sacramento and I attended the hearings on the electrical grid and wildfire task force. I'll tell you, they're focused on Northern California issues, which is primarily growth, right? So they have thicker forests. What we're looking at is, while we have forests, most of those are federal lands. What we're looking at in wildland urban interface is grasses. And so we need to have grants to change our grasses, which burn very quickly, that beautiful mustard on the hill, into native plants, which are less combustible, and they survive. They're much more drought tolerant, and it is safer for our environment. In addition to edge hardening. And what that means is that your homes are just less flammable. And that is also more prevailing wage construction jobs. So it's going to be able to focus on climate change, build infrastructure, and have real practical investment in our communities that will help to address climate change. We really have to. I mean, this is just one example. There's so much that we need to do. Okay, so I'll tell you, so a little bit update. Well, let me tell you what I'm working on briefly. I've got so many little notes about what I want to tell you. So quickly, Choi is up there with Morlock. He and Morlock were outside the Capitol with those anti-vaxxers. I walked up to both of them and went, I see you. They were totally supporting those guys. Choi is also a racist. He has said that Muslims are not fit for any public office. Unbelievable. He's the guy who had Nancy Pelosi as a fascist in Stalin's face on his jacket and walked through the Truman Dinner about 10 years ago. His contributions are big pharma, big banks, oil, tobacco, right? So he's got to go. And we've been working hard on that. We had a great event last week, a pep rally, and I know some of your club members were there. It was great, and it was moving. It was wonderful. We looked at clips from past conventions. We're getting psyched to do the work for this election. It was also really sobering. We had Congressman Ted Lieu talk to us about, and he said, no matter what happens, we're not going to be able to get the funds back to the post office to fix this dismantling. He said, we got to be real. So we've got to get out there and do everything that you talked about, getting people to put their ballots in the ballot boxes, and to do it immediately, right? He said, as a matter of fact, you can't put anything in the mail after October 20th. I mean, I would say to be careful, not after October 15th, right? Mm-hmm. Get them in the ballot boxes. Really, really key. Now, very sobering. On the other, we also had a tribute. We played a tribute at our pep rally by the UAW to John Lewis. And if you think about what John Lewis faced when he was trying to get residents of Alabama to the ballot box, facing fire hoses and batons and jails, we can face this Cheeto and we can get our ballots in the box, right? We can do that. We have the script, we have the organization, and we have you, which is the secret weapon. And so we'll be relying on you, and our teams are all going to be working to get those votes in. So a little bit about what I'm working on, especially for Lake Forest residents. The music facility, the farm, is scheduled for a $350 million upgrade from the county. Upgrade, who knows what it is. It's supposed to house 900 inmates who need mental health services. Those services are to be provided by correctional officers. Now, yeah, people don't get better in jail when they don't have, doctors and medicine and treatment and therapists. They get correctional officers. So that what this is just a big money grab. So I'm going to be putting a forum together. I want to throw that in as a council member to stop this shady move by the sheriff to just grab funds. Those are community funds dedicated to mental health and community needs. And we need to get that into the community to the members who need it. So, and obviously I plan on working on this in the assembly. I mean, mental health resources have been so key in homelessness and combating homelessness, combating poverty. Those are things that I want to work on. I will continue my work from City Council up in Sacramento, and we're going to give you the information about music because this is crazy. Yeah. So, okay. Talked about that. Oh, and let me just tell you about the infrastructure on the campaign. We've raised over $900,000 to date. Thank you so much for the contributions from this club. It means so much to me. I got the check today. I was so excited. Thank you. So we've seen registration in my district move. When I first jumped in this race, it was almost 7% Republican, right? And so I raised that $900,000, not because I'm so amazing, but because I, as a Democrat, and our values as Democrats better represent this district than Stephen Choi's anti-vax, big pharma, pro-gun agenda, right? So we've seen that in the registration. So right now, we are 1,319 voters away from being a Democratic district. That's crazy. That is just crazy. It is less than 0.5% from being blue. So it is, basically a toss-up. And we got a poll. Sacramento's been great. We got a poll back that said that if we get our message out there, and frankly, we got 36 pieces coming, so our message is going to get out there. We win by 8 points. And so that's amazing. And Sacramento has absolutely targeted us, and they've sent down Susan McIntyre from the Assembly Dems, and we're getting staff coming in next week. Liz Hess from Assemblymember Cooley's office is going to be assigned to our campaign. We're really excited. We've been in close contact. We have our script. We have our phone banks unrolling tomorrow. We're doing texting. We're doing phone banking. And, frankly, we really need a lot of help in Lake Forest. So we're going to look to you if you could give us a couple of your nights in between now and the election. We have our Monday night volunteer meetings, which are awesome. We had Sarah Jekyll at the last meeting speak to us. She's from Field Team 6. She was so motivating. 8/26, we have a fundraiser coming up, Irish Pub Night. And Terry Casey, who's a longtime friend of mine, will be singing. He's the lead singer of the Fenians. And that's hosted by the Aikens. Look, I know you guys are amazing. You're activists. I know you probably got a lot of things going. You're going to do your own phone banking, but I have a couple things to ask you. We really need help with something called our mail tree. We need to know when you've received a piece of mail or you've seen a digital ad or a TV ad related to the 68th Assembly District. If you could text us or email us, because the post office is so janky right now. I mean, we've taken mail to get like 12 days to get up north to Sacramento and back when we mail our checks in. And it's supposed to be prioritized, but we just don't know. And then on top of that, Facebook is also slowing down promotions. So I know when we've had an event, we've seen the promotion for the event 4 days after the event. So we need to know all of this. And if you can help us with that, we would be really grateful. And in particular, I'll tell you, Lake Forest is really, really tough for us to penetrate. I've maybe only got a handful of people that I know really well who are active and able to send mail pieces. So if you guys could help, we'd appreciate it. In addition, help us get our message out. An easy way is like us on Facebook, like us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. And, you know, that's true for every Dem. We need it. And the Fenians are absolutely great. And Terry's a really long-time friend. We've known him for decades. So I hope you have questions. I didn't want to talk too long. So.
Well, Melissa, there are questions. Maybe we have time for one because we're a little bit short on time here. It's a
that wasn't 15 minutes. Was I too long? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It was interesting hearing you talk, and that's so valuable too. Okay, it's a three-pronged question, and it's, what are your top legislative priorities? What changes would you like to see? And what policies would you like to continue or protect?
Holy moly.
I know.
Right? Well, I'll tell you right off the bat. I mean, we talked about affordable housing. We talked about climate change. And water is tremendously important to me. But I'll tell you, one of the pieces of legislation that I have drafted and ready to go is that UCs cannot contract with medical associations that do not offer the entire array of women's health choices and that do not provide IVF to LGBTQ couples, and that does not allow or fully provide all options for advanced directives. That is one of the first pieces that's written and ready to go. Right. And we're also, I have a number of pieces from the land trust that we're working on for affordable housing, and that all has to do with tax credits. I have a consumer bill regarding aftermarket adoptions for vehicles. So, and you know what, if you have, my focus are going to be on healthcare, affordable housing, education, climate change. Specific bills, we're working with a number of unions in particular for healthcare and for education. So those are the things that I'm working on, but it also depends what committees I'm going to be able to be on. But I'll tell you one thing that I know full well from my time as an elected. I can't do a thing by myself. I need to have stakeholders. So when the anti-vaxxers are up there screaming about how you can't enforce vaccinations in schools, we need help. When I am bringing my legislation to say that UCs cannot use our tax dollars to discriminate against women's health choices and to restrict their care, I need your help. So we need our stakeholders, but most importantly, I need the people who live in the district to come forward with pieces of legislation that they support and to put their names on. Because, you cannot just rule by fiat, and because for every piece of legislation, for every resolution, for everything that you do, there's another side. And so you have to be able to be a point of rallying to bring the issues of your district forward. And I know that climate change is super important. For example, Cotty Petrie Norris was able to get over $5 million just for GIS mapping from fixed wing aircraft. And so what that means practically is that they put out a fire in Quail Hill, not put out, but contained within an hour. And that could have easily, taken out all of Quail Hill, gone over into Newport Coast. And so that little piece has to be supported and trumpeted by Orange County Fire Authority, and certainly I expect that it will. We have had when we have had town halls related to fire, and in Orange Park Acres, and in Lake Forest, it has been a very much community need. But what I need is support from you on the issues that I'm getting elected on, right? And I think that we need a mandate at the box, right? I think we're going to get that. Against Choi's agenda and in favor of our Democratic agenda. But at any time, my office is and will continue to be open for needs for the community directly.
Melissa, thank you so much. It was so interesting hearing what you had to say. Thank you for coming. Scott, are you ready?